Hello, wonderful. This is Sarah. And if you have followed my work or followed the podcast, you have heard me talk about smart girl syndrome. Okay. And there is a lot of conversation around codependency and being codependent. And codependency is I need you. I can't live without you. I don't exist without being in this relationship. And smart girl syndrome is I'm good, kind, loving, giving, forgiving. And with enough work, I can make this work too. Okay. And definitely check out my past podcasts and stuff on smart girl syndrome. There's a whole chapter in my book, Becoming Toxic Person Proof, about smart girl syndrome. And I was talking to a client recently, and I said the tricky thing about smart girl syndrome is that we want it to be our fault. Okay. And hear what I'm saying here, right? So if something is going wrong at work and it is within my power to fix it, I believe in myself. I'll work harder. I'll try a different strategy. I'll try a different way of communicating, and then I'll get the outcome I want. If something, most of you guys know, I am a classical piano player, right? So I can play other styles too. But in college, I majored in classical piano, like Beethoven and Chopin and stuff. And if I couldn't get a song right, I would take responsibility. I would practice, and then I would get help, and I would practice some more, and then I would ask my teacher about it, and I would practice some more, and I would fix it. Okay. If, I remember when I went to college, I didn't have to study that much in high school. I didn't make perfect grades or anything. I was really focused on uh, piano, but I went to college, and my very first test was in political science. And I made like a D on the test. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail out of college. I called my mom upset, all this kind of thing. And studied so hard for the next few tests. I think I missed one more question on the test from there on out, right? And it was the perfect smart girl syndrome. It was like, oh my gosh, I didn't study. I made a D. I'm going to lose my piano scholarship money. I'm going to drop out of college. I better get myself together and fix this thing, right? So I took better notes. I studied. I literally memorized my notes. And so then when it came to the tests, I made a B in the class, because there's only 4 tests in college. So I couldn't make up that D, but I think I made a B in the class and made almost perfect test scores from there on out because I'd worked so hard in that class. And it worked. I made a B in the class. I didn't lose my college scholarship. I put in the work and I got the result I wanted. And smart girls know how to do that. They put in the work and get the result they want. And they may not like to do the work. It's not like I loved studying, extra for tests, but I could kind of control the outcome. I could influence the outcome. And that is what is so frustrating about a toxic situation or toxic person is that you use the same tactics that brought you success in other areas. And those tactics are, I'm going to work harder, put in a little more work harder, put in a little more work, study later. I can do this, right? And the thing about toxic relationships is that they want you to do all the work and they want to avoid the work. Okay. And the finish line is always moving. You think, okay, I need to work harder. And let's say for your boss, I need to get that report in 3 hours earlier and then they'll be happy. And then they're mad about something else. Or it's a coworker and it's like, okay, well, if I avoid sending that email after hours, then the coworker won't be mad at me, and then I can, influence the outcome. I won't say control, influence the outcome. And then the coworker is still mad at me because they found something else to get mad at. Or you're have a toxic parent, and it's like, okay, well, if I make sure and call them once a week, then they won't fuss at me for not calling them, and then it'll work out. And it's like, then they're mad about something else, right? So In a toxic situation, the toxic person wants to watch you work. That is their love language. They want to watch you do the work. That is how you show that you love them. Now, it'll never work. When I say that, don't think, okay, if I just keep working, eventually they're going to, no, there is no eventually. They're going to watch you work yourself to death and then blame you for it. Okay. But this is what's so tricky about smart girl syndrome is that we kind of want it to be our fault. Because if something is our fault, we can fix it. We can work harder. We can put in the time. We can put in the effort, and then we'll get the results. And so when we hear that it's not our fault, but we can't control it, we can't have better boundaries and change their personality. We can't have, work harder, be prettier, be sexier, have more sex, put in more work hours, whatever. There is nothing we can do to change their personality. That is very defeating. There's that whole sense of inadequacy, of which I did a podcast on feeling my feelings, and it was really interesting. It was a terrible experience. Please listen to the whole podcast. And inadequacy is the word that kept coming up. And I was like, inadequacy. I feel like I'm a really confident person. Like, what, inadequacy? Like, what is happening here? And it's that smart girl syndrome again. It is like the belief to my core that there are some situations that no matter how I work, how hard I work in them, I'm not going to be able to influence them in the way I want to, which is basically changing other people's personalities. I really want to change other people's personalities. I really, 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 really do. I wish I was that powerful. It is the great defeat of my life that I cannot be so good that I can change someone else's personality, which is a silly defeat, right? Because obviously, I can't do that. Nobody can. But if I'm just dead, straight up honest, you and I are sitting and having coffee, the great sadness of my life is that I cannot be so good enough that I can change someone else's personality. That is my great defeat, my great sadness. And it was a really hard thing to come to terms with, because if I thought it was my fault, I could just work harder, just try again. I could try a different communication style. I could have better boundaries. I could work on my self-esteem. I could do this, and then I could change a toxic situation or a toxic person. So that is the lure of smart girl syndrome. It is the benefit. Having smart girl syndrome is amazing in any other circumstance, any non-toxic situation. Smart girls are awesome, and we want to hire them and be best friends with them and want to we love them. And it's not amazing when a toxic person uses that piece of our personality for us to keep going, keep trying, don't give up, work harder. And then it never works, because it's never going to work. There is no circumstance under which it would work. Okay. So if you want to move forward with a toxic person or toxic situation, you have to change the game. And it cannot be that you work harder and bend yourself like a pretzel and wear yourself out so they don't get upset or mad. They will get mad. They always get mad either way. You might as well do what you want or do something that benefits you, because they're going to get mad either way. So thinking I'm going to be completely selfless and do everything for them, they're going to get mad. Or, I'm going to look into my integrity and do what's right for myself, and they're still going to get mad. But if they're going to get mad either way, you might as well create a great life for you, your children, your friends, your emotional health, rather than trying to hop around hoping that you don't hit the landmine that sets them off, because they're going to get set off either way. I hope this helps you on your journey to becoming toxic person proof. If you have not read my book, Becoming Toxic Person Proof, clear the confusion and learn to trust yourself. There is a ton of information about smart girl syndrome and how to overcome it. Hope you're having a great day.